going, Rasmus? Good to see you. All right, so we're gonna do some Lua work here. I've got quite a bit done. Let's show you what I've been working on for. It's been about a week, but it's not hard working on a week. It was had a few days where I could work on it, but pretty much got it where it needs to be. Let me see. At the moment, it looks like I have the. No, this is the right save. Okay, good. All right, so working with ChatGPT mostly to help me work up the code. It's just a hell of a lot faster there. I heard some controversy that people were like giving some other creator some shit for using ChatGPT. That's absolute silliness, especially if you want to learn how to do some of this code and you don't have any coding background. It's really helpful because, like, for example, you can go in and you can have it work some code for you, quickly find the errors. It also does a good job annotating it, like showing you what the ground color is, the pitch lines. It sets it up nicely, so if you want to go in and you want to learn how to do it yourself, you can also kind of look through it and see how it's supposed to be set up correctly. So let's go ahead and look at how this is going. Take a look at it. And so this is, so the way I've got the screen going, I could have done this on a 2x3 screen. I decided to do it on two 1x3s. I might try to edit it to go on a 1x3, but I think this is a little bit more configurable doing it this way. And so this is going to be the main screen. This is just putting it up here so I can see any changes kind of in a large way. So it makes it a little bit easier. So this is based off of the PFD that I use IRL, and so I've got a lot of time on this PFD. So there are some changes compared to the. My voice is a little low. Okay, let's turn up. How about that, Rasmus? Is that better? Let me know if it gets too loud, Rasmus. All right, we got it there. Let me know if it gets too loud, Rasmus. Thanks for letting me know. So if we go ahead and we look at this, we've got the attitude indicator in the middle. And so what I've got here is a little airplane. And you'll see there's a rotary there, but this is the airplane. And you can see as the airplane rotates in three-dimensional space, we should be able to see what it's doing and what the attitude indicator is doing, and that just helps me kind of visualize it. So main part in the middle is the attitude indicator. Okay, thanks, Rasmus. And so we have the airplane indicator. That's those yellow bars, and that's your wings. And so you can tell as you roll your wings to the left, roll your wings to the right, pitch. And then with the way that the Euler coordinates work, the problem is eventually when you go over like this, you notice our pitch is now level. And so pretty much if we want to change that pitch, we also need to change our yaw a little bit like that. So you can see here, this is the pitch ladder. So, you know, there's 5 degree, or there's a 2.5, 5, 7.5, no, what are we on here? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So that's your pitch up degrees. This should go inverted, no problem. You can see that's why it goes like 90 degrees. It's at its max, so it will flip right around and go back the other way. And then you go down, you have the ground. And then if you look here, I've made a little bit of edits because we have kind of a smaller window in game than we have fewer pixels. Let's put it that way. We have a lot fewer pixels in game on our screens than we would have IRL, so you can't get the numbers as small, you can't get the definition to be as good. So I have to make some change to make it a little bit more easy to see. So for example, like the aircraft bars here are yellow just to make it a little bit easier to see. We have the roll pointer is yellow where it's white IRL. Well, that would get washed out in the pitch. If you look at these little tick marks, that's your roll. So there's wings level. And then you go all the way up to 45 degrees on there. I've just got a little bit of a counter here. This counter is for testing. So if we look over here on the speed tape, this is the low speed cue. So this is going to tell you if you're getting close to stall and you're getting low speed. This is going to be a configurable number. So for example, I'm going to put this in my helicopter first for the challenge. there is no stall speed, right? You can go all the way to a hover. Well, of course, an airplane, you configure it to where that's going to be. We have a pointer here that's going to point to what speed you're doing. And then we have a trend vector. What the trend vector does is it tells you where you're going to be in a certain number of seconds. In this case, I think I have it set to 10 seconds. And so, for example, when I'm flying the real airplane, I pull the thrust back, I can see with the trend vector where I'm going to be in 10 seconds. If we have a wind change and I see that trend vector come whipping down, I know that I need to add power. And that allows you to, as you approach the speed you're looking for, you can start to bring it back and see how quickly the trend vector is shrinking, and you can get right on your speed. Over on the right here, we have our altitude window. So this is going to read out digitally what our current altitude is, and then we have the altitude tape. These are the tick marks here. They're in 20-foot increments, and then long lines for 100. So I'll go ahead and press the button. As you can see, the magenta line is the trend vector. So it's showing us where it'll be in 10 seconds. We also have some red checkerboard here. That's the high-speed queue for overspeed. So that's configurable. Numbers over here, once it goes to, it's going to do 5 digits, as you can see. And it counts up through the altitudes there. You got the digital window here, reading them out digitally so you can see that. As soon as we go to flight level 180, it goes to F for flight level. I may change that so it just reads out the full digits, but the likelihood that you ever go above 180 in game is pretty slim anyway. And then this will, this caps out where I set it to, so I have it set to go to a max of 35,000. So once it gets there, it will stop. And then if we look over at the speed here, I'll deselect it and you'll see it go down. So see the red checkerboard goes away. Trend vector is now going down. And then we have that green line. The green line, we have that in my airplane. That moves. It's dynamic and it's based on stall, which is angle of attack. So I kind of have to, fake it a little bit in game. But the green bar is 1.37 times stall. So whatever your stall speed is, it's going to automatically calculate 1.37. And so that's your maneuvering bar. So you don't want to maneuver below that. So you can be straight and level below that between the 40 and that red checkerboard, but you don't want to be maneuvering below that. Let's go ahead and we'll take a little bit better look at the magenta trend vector. So right here, this is just what's doing that counting so that I can test out the airspeed and the altitude. So right now we've got airspeed. It's counting one at a time. Let's do 0.1. So we'll do one. That's going to be too little. 0.05. Nope, 0.5 rather. We'll do 0.5. So that's going to be half as fast. That's still too fast. I'm trying to get it where the magenta is going to be not off the screen so you can see it. Yeah, see how small the magenta is now? So this is based on how much I put in the either the thrust or in this case the helicopter tipping forward. So that's going to show me where I'm going to be in 10 seconds. So let's say I want to stop my speed at 120. Well, I know that I need to pull back just a little bit because the line is very shallow. If I push the power all the way up real fast, that magenta is going to be screaming up, and it's going to say, hey, you're going to be at a high speed fast, so you can start to bring it down as you get to where you want to go. So that's just kind of the, what's going on in here. So that's pretty much done. That's the top of it. That's the top of the attitude indicator. I'll show you the attitude indicator I'm kind of going for, because it's based off the plane that I fly. Let's see, where is it? I've had a good picture of it. So this is what kind of it's based off of. I had to make some changes, like I said, because of just space constraints. So you have the wings of the aircraft there. I made them yellow again, so a little bit easier to see. You see how the pointers are white and they're also hollow, so it makes it hard in game to be hollow. And also, there's a bunch of math that has to be done to make sure that this pointer always points the direction it's going. So it actually has to rotate as you rotate. So there's a little bit of extra Lua code in there for that. And then let's see what else. You know, I had to change the window up a little bit to make that work better. Had to lose some features, but they're not too bad. So this top half here is pretty much what we've got done. And then next thing I want to work on now is the compass. The compass is going to take up a bunch of real estate. And then over on the right here, we have the vertical speed indicator. And over here, we can have some general information. So a bunch of things I can do with that. Yeah, I agree, Rasmus. I think it's some purest bullshit that people were doing. I heard that they were giving some other creators some nonsense for no reason. You know, it's use the tools you have. You know, it'd be like it's like reading a textbook for coding. Like, what do you want me to spend? Like, this would have taken me months and months and months to do on my own, and then you have errors and you don't know where I can go back and I can literally paste a screenshot of what the screen says in game. So if I get an error on this and I paste the screenshot in ChatGPT, it can fix the error for me. So I just paste the code and I paste the screenshot, it fixes the error. And then I actually learn more that way because I can see, oh, this is how what caused the problem in the Lua code for the game. It tells me what it needed to fix, and now I know that, so if I need to fix it by hand, I can do that, And I think you're going to learn more doing it like this than just trying to, like, learn it on your own. Because you're going to bang your head against the wall. It's going to get too frustrating. So next thing we want to work on... So the other thing, too, is I did this a couple different ways. And so the first thing I tried doing, which I highly recommend against, and I'll try to, if I ever have any free time, do some tutorials on some of this. But one of the things that I tried doing it first is essentially doing it all at once. And so making the PFD, the tapes, all one bit of code. And you run into a couple problems with trying to make all of this one bit of code. And one of the first things you're going to notice is we did get a bump in how many characters we can have in a Lua block. But if you look at the Lua block, it maxes out at 8,192. So this first section here, if you notice, I've got them all kind of daisy-chained here. And so this first section is the attitude indicator, which I actually should flip these around so they're in line. But attitude indicator, we've got the speed tape, and actually that does need to be down first. And then this is the altitude tape. And so you have the attitude indicator is the background. So if you look at, let's update this real quick. So if you look at this, you see how the attitude indicator is on the back. And you see how, like, the ground shows all the way down here. And then you have the speed tape sits on top of this. And then the altitude tape sits on top of the attitude indicator as well. And so you can see on this top one how, all of that, you can't see it just because it's below the screen, but it is there. And these are sitting on top, and you can even see the tick marks continued there south of the speed tape. And so by layering it this way, you get a couple benefits. One, every time ChatGPT or even you would go to back and edit the code, there's a chance, especially with ChatGPT, of destroying something you already had. So I kept running this problem where the attitude indicator was finally finished in the way I wanted it. And then you would run into a problem where, because it put a new feature, it would accidentally delete something that I wanted. Well, then you got to go back and you got to edit that thing, and it might delete something else. So the best thing to do is you make the attitude indicator, and you make sure it works the way you want, and then you layer other elements on top. And so I can make changes to the speed tape, and I have no worry about changing anything in the attitude indicator. And I can change the speed tape, and I don't have to worry about changing anything in the altitude tape. And the other benefit of stacking like I'm doing is, if you look, this code for the attitude indicator is 3989. And we have 8192. So we got a lot left if I need to add features. This next one here is the speed tape. It's 3259. And then the last one here, the altitude tape, is 1437. And we run into a problem. If we add all those numbers together, 1437 and the 232 and 34s, we're up to 8,685 characters. So if I tried putting this all in one Lua block, I would run out of characters. And so that would not be a good thing. So that's one of the reasons why I split the screens. I could go back to a 2x3 screen and do this layering technique, but doing the 2 screens also makes it more configurable, where I could still daisy chain, you know, so I don't necessarily need to do this, but I kind of like it, and we're gonna stick with it. But it allows you to fix and work on one section, and you're not gonna. There's no, you know, like right now. Let's see. Here, let's do this. Let's go to the. Oh, actually, let me send this message real quick. Somebody from Alistair's community was asking about the sky color. Let me just color this for them. They were asking for my colors. They like the colors that I had on mine, so let me just post this to them real quick. So, like, I can go in and I can make changes, and there's no fear of me breaking something else. And let's say I want to change some functionality or completely redo my altitude tape. That's easy. I just work on just the altitude tape section. I work on just the altitude tape section. And so, for example, here, let's do this. This will be a good way to illustrate it. So I could go in here, and I could do this, and I can skip the altitude tape. So if you look, the altitude tape's now gone. It's gone. But everything else works exactly the same as it used to. And so you can go and make small changes to other stuff. You can completely rewrite parts of it, and you're not going to destroy the stuff you've already got. So that's helpful. You know, so that's good. The other thing, too, is as you can see, we've had some iterations. These are all my iterations. So this is a pain in the ass to do, but I recommend it. This is how you kind of make sure you don't lose important stuff. If code gets, if you get some errors, you can go through and really kind of walk through this and have old iterations going. And so these, I kind of have a method I can show you if you like of kind of making sure that, you don't lose functionality. You can go back and kind of always have backups. I'm huge on backups. That helps a lot. But, so let's go ahead, and what we're going to work on next here, that's kind of where I'm at. I just want to talk about that first, so kind of see that. Let's go ahead and make a save. Lots of saves, lots of backups. As you can see, I do lots and lots and lots and lots of backups. And also, like, the way you do it, is important. Like, I like to date everything. That way it makes it super easy for me to find what's the most recent. Like, if I know, hey, I prefer the attitude indicator from 2 days ago, I can find the date, and I can find it and pull it and change it. I'm just reading Rasmus' chat here. Yeah, chat. I heard Claude coding's better for a lot. My brother used Claude coding for some stuff. I find it helpful because, like, I was having a ton of problems with the attitude indicator, so let's bring up Basilicious too. So I've been using Basilicious's gauges forever. I love them. I've made some edits to them myself. This is his 6-pack suite and his attitude indicator, and I've been using that stuff forever. And if you look there, you can see it's also connected and moving and working. That's my edit of it. And so one thing I did that I think ChatGPT is great for is it would take me 1,000 years to go through and figure out how to make the math work for the Euler codes in game from the physics sensor. And so I was having all sorts of problems. That, for example, when you would roll and then you would pitch, it was deleting some of the roll, so it was having some weird behavior. And so what I finally did was I started plugging some of the working attitude indicators into ChatGPT, and it could look at the math, and it could make the connection of, oh, I see this math. You're using the Euler codes out of stormworks. It's comparing it to roll, so I need these things, and then you can kind of start to put them in, and it will do that math for you. And like, I don't need to go relearn trigonometry and geometry and calculus and all this shit for this. I don't need that. It can do it for me. And so that's also helpful. So like if we go to the attitude indicator is the most complex. I'm not going to pretend I know any of this math. This math's pretty complicated. But we have some sine cosines going in there. We have a ton of this math going in there. We have atans going in there. We have roll atan, sine atans. You know, so if you're trying to like just, oh, let's throw this at the wall and see if it sticks, this is going to be the bane of your existence. Like this here, we have some more math, cosine, sine, to make it all work. And I had to make essentially a rotational matrix to be able to get this to work correctly. And so that's where I think the AI really exceeds at this. Is it can know all the trigonometry and the calculus and everything else. It can know the tick speeds of the game. And you can just ask it to do these things. It's helpful. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. And it was quite frustrating at times, but it was very helpful. There's no way in hell I could get this done without it. All right, so that's kind of the background of where we got to here. So the next thing I want to do is, I still got display cap up. I do. Let me bring that up. So if we look down here, the compass is the next job. The compass is going to go in the middle, and the important things to me are going to be, I need to make sure I can see the numbers. Numbers rotate in a funny way in game. I'm going to bring up Basilicious's gauges and see how he did the compass, and I want to see its behavior, because so part of the thing was if you look at these numbers, when you roll left or right, they stay in line with the line. And that's because the pixels on the real CRT monitor are small enough that you can have the definition, and they rotate with the line. It's very hard to get this to work in game because you can't use numbers. You have to actually use lines. So you'd have to use a line, 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 line. And the lines can rotate, but the numbers cannot rotate in game. So I'll show you the weird behavior these do, because if you bank to the left, the 10 would be on its side. So if you bank 10 degrees left, the 10 would be turned 10 degrees to the left. In game, it has a little bit of a funny behavior. But again, at some point, you got to just say it's good enough. And so, like, if we look at the number, watch what happens when I roll 90. See how the number is now on its side? It wouldn't do that in real game. It would be turned 90 degrees to the left. But there's no easy way to fix that in game. So, I'm just not going to worry about it. It's not worth worrying about. You know, you're never going to be able to get it perfect exactly how you want it. So, not going to worry about that. So let's go ahead and we will plug in Basilicious's compass, and I'll see what I'm trying to find out for information-wise with this is, where are we at here? What I want to see with this is, did he bother putting numbers in? Because, and I doubt it. See, no. The numbers are going to be a huge problem. The letters are going to be a huge problem. Like, if you look back at the one that I use IRL, you can see that it has letters for north, south, east, west. It has numbers. They're also double digits. That takes up a ton of space. And then if you notice, see how the 24 is on its side? That's not going to work in game. The 2-4 is going to always be, facing the horizon, so it's going to rotate and stay face up the whole way around. So I think what's going to be better is do tick marks, like Basilicious did, and then also have a window. So the way the window works IRL is if you look at right here, it should pop up right here. When I spin in my heading bug, the heading bug only comes up. There's a dashed magenta line that will come up and it will go to the center when I spin my heading bug. And that will show the line from the heading bug to the center. When I spin my heading bug, say I'm going to spin my heading to 300. Say ATC tells me turn left 300. I spin that heading bug to the left 300. Right here, a magenta digital readout pops up and it says, it shows the numbers as I'm clicking through. So right now we're at 335, so I'll go 335, 334, 310, 305, 300. And then the bug, this bug here would be at 300. And then after a few seconds, the digital readout disappears. And so instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is, I think Basilicious had a good idea here where you put a digital heading readout in there, and that's going to help you to understand what's going on as far as you'll always know what your heading is, because I'm not going to have the actual numbers here. So I can look at my compass in real life, and I can look that, oh, yep, we've got the bug at 300, and we're at 300. I can actually see what my heading is off the compass rose, but I can't do that in game. So having this digital readout, as you can see here, is going to be important so that I know what my current heading is. And so what I think I'm gonna start by doing is I'm gonna feed in Basilicious's compass into ChatGPT and be like, hey, this is an example of a compass I want you to look at. And then I'm gonna say, and here is a picture of the Collins Proline 4 compass. I want you to make me the Collins Proline 4 compass, but I do not want any of the numbers or letters showing for the degrees or north, south, east, west. And I want you to put a digital readout of the present heading. I want you to put an airplane symbol like the Collins Proline 4 in the center. And so that kind of gets it going of what I'm looking for. And it has an example to work from, so it's not just pulling it out of its ass. It kind of knows. And then it can look at the code that is already in stormworks, and it can kind of figure out what it's doing. You know, when people say that the devs don't update this game or they haven't had any good updates, I often call bullshit, and I'll tell you why some of the bullshit. So again, this Basilicious's stuff, I've edited, but it's his back here. And if we look at the heading indicator, and we go look at his code, actually this code's fine. Let's look at the attitude indicator is very complicated. So if we look at that, and we look at Basilicious's code, it's all minified. If you don't know what minified is, you go in here and you are putting in shortcuts to the code. And the reason was, do you know, Rasmus, what the old limit was? Because there used to be an older limit on the characters. We got a big character boost from the devs. Again, one of the great updates they gave us that people don't think about when they bitch that we haven't got any good updates. We used to have a much, much, much lower character limit. And so everything, you know, every one of these is a character. If I don't want to delete it. I'll delete something I can. I'll delete this one so I know exactly what to replace it with. But if you look at the caret, it's 3294. Each one of these is a character. So every single character counts towards your character limit. Okay, so Rasmus was saying it was 4096. I assume that's half of 8192. Yep, that's half of 8192. So they doubled the character limit for us. So if you look at Basilicious's attitude indicator and you say, oh my god, what is all of this? This is minified. And so you have the code that goes out to the screen. And then if you look over here, this explains what's going on to the other, it's explaining essentially what's going on so that it can figure out what's minified. And this is all the shortcuts. So essentially what it's doing is it's taking all of his code and it's putting it into shortcuts. So this looks like a bunch of gobbledygook. But what it's doing is it's reading the shortcuts from the other Luas, and that's allowing it to make all the calculations. And as you can see, it's quite the pain in the ass. So that's another great update the devs gave us, was by increasing that character limit by doubling it. It makes it a hell of a lot easier now, because, for example, like if you look at these screens, like let's go back here to, okay, so no. Okay, it's going to be hard to find, but I was running into problems where I was hitting easily 8,000 characters to put it in one Lua block. Well, that means that I would have to have 2 Lua blocks, and so I do have 3 now, which stacking's making it easier. But like this one's close to the limit, this one's close to the limit, this one's about half the limit of the old ones. Now with the double, that's a quarter of the limit, and an eighth of the limit. So I have a ton of space to do extra Lua work in there, and I don't have to split my blocks up as much. So that was a great one. If they would even double it more, I would love it. But yeah, so that was a big thing there. So let's go ahead and let's get working with ChatGPT. Hopefully it doesn't act the fool today. It likes to act the fool, and I have to yell at it, but the other thing that's good is, like, you know, when I'm done at the end of the day and I'm going to bed, you know, I pretty much tell it, I like to write it out like, thanks for the help, going to bed. And it reminds me of where I left off. And then it saves your project, and you've got tons and tons of code to go back to. And you can quickly go back. There's a lot to it. You have to kind of learn it that I've learned over, I'm certainly no expert at it, but learned over the days working with this frustrating system at times. Is, for example, it's always good to go back and post the last code. So like what I'll say is like, okay, I love what you've done. I would like you to move all the numbers over to the right by 1 pixel so that I can now have 4 digits in the altitude window. Not a sneeze attack. And so you can say that to it, and what it will do is, you know, it will try to quickly spit out some code. And the problem is it's trying to remember where you left off, and then it spits out some broken-ass code. And so what's better is you say, hey, I would like to move my numbers 1 pixel to the right, and I would like to, you know, so that I can have 4 digits for the altitude tape, but I don't want you to do that until I paste the latest code. And you paste the latest code, it rereads it, so it's not trying to fill in the gaps on its own. It knows where you're at, and then it makes the changes. And so that's helpful, because to make sure you paste in the latest working code for it. All right. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to start by, I'll bring it up in here in a second so you can see it, but let's go ahead and let's go to his, I want to look at his heading indicator again. So if you look at his heading indicator, it has the tick marks, and it has a digital window. It has an airplane symbol. I want to put something, I want to put a heading bug caret that will tie in with my autopilot panel. So that's going to go in there. And I'm going to keep it on the simple side. Simple safe. We're going to stick with that so it doesn't get too complicated. And I'm going to kind of feed it this information. And so what it will be able to read is, what is the game reading? That's important. So if we look at his, all right, here's his heading coordinator. And if we look here, it's reading the physics sensor channel 17 as the compass, okay? And then it's units, degrees, right there. You see degrees, cardinal directions, degrees. And so then that's coming in channel 1. If you go ahead and look here, we'll find channel 1 where that's coming in. Units right there. So cardinal directions would be in that digital readout he has. It would show north, northeast, north, northeast, northeast, east, east. So it'd show these if you were doing cardinal directions, right? If you're doing degrees, it's going to read it out in degrees. So I'm just trying to look. So what Rasmus, off the top of your head, do you know if is it turns for what the compass sensor's reading? I think it's turns. So let's not even bother putting Basilisks in there. Let's go ahead and I will, shit, ChatGPT is going to go crazy here in a second. I got to wait for it to reload here. I pulled the tab, and it's not happy that I pulled the tab, so it's got to reload for a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to skip doing that, and I should be able to tell it at this point. I'm going to use the physics sensor from the game, channel 17. That's going to read out the heading, and I want you to convert that to degrees, and then build me the compass rose from the CRJ 900 Collins Proline 4 BFD. I gotta wait for this to update here. It takes a while for ChatGPT, especially with a free version, to get rolling in with the latest edits. Yeah, this is one good thing. This is one thing it's good for too. Is it's usually pretty good at figuring out the conversion. So what I'll do is let's actually do the Basilisks code thing that I was talking about. What we're gonna do is we're gonna copy his code, and all I'm doing is I want. So you got to be specific with what you're asking ChatGPT to do. So I'm gonna copy the code, and what I'm gonna ask it to do is simple. I'm gonna say, hey, I want you to look at this code, and I want you to figure out the calculation to turn the physics sensor from in-game into degrees. Look at this code and make that connection for me, essentially. So it's going to do that where it figures it out. Okay, here we go. We finally loaded. All right, let's see if we can talk to it for a bit. All right, so I like to just talk to it, makes it easier for me. So I'm going to do a couple things. So eventually, it's very slow. Come on, do dictation. It's being very slow at the moment. Wow, it's slow. It is. The problem is it's the middle of a workday and people are using it for work. So that's slowing it down. If this takes too long, we will do something else, but I'll type to it. Probably be quicker. Wow, it's being slow. This is with a gig internet, too. It's got to be slow on their side because they're I'm going to start with a fresh prompt, see if I can't get it to do. I don't know what's and local LLM. I have no clue what that means. Rasmus. Hopefully this isn't super slow. If it is, we'll go on and do something else, but hopefully it's not too bad. All right, let's go ahead and start typing. Yeah, come on. I really hope this doesn't shit the bed when I'm trying to do this. It's kind of the whole point is I wanted to make some friggin' progress on this today. All right, so I'm not gonna bother showing that on the screen because moving around is causing problems. So what I'll do is I'll work it on the right side here, and then I'll just come up with what it is. Oh my God, it's grinding to a halt right now. All right, let's do this while this is being the slowest shit on Earth. It is really being ultra slow right now. All right, so it's really like the whole attitude indicator is really pretty light. If you look here, this is the this 2 block is really all I need for it. Yeah, that was the other good thing with the oh my God, why is ChatGPT being so slow? I'm gonna try to load up in the background, see what happens. But let's try to do this real quick. Let's try to go stick this in the helicopter, or at least do something productive here while this thing's grinding to a halt, and then I might have to work on it tonight or tomorrow when people are less likely to be on using it. All right. Okay. So let's go test this out in the helicopter. Should work fine. My testing methodology has been pretty good, so I don't really see any issues with that testing methodology, that this wouldn't just work when we come out of there. That's good, that's good. And then we need the altitude. So altitude can come off the physics sensor. I just put these are number blocks essentially because they're number blocks because I was feeding it that altitude information for testing. And airspeed is going to be off of this because we want actual airspeed. Altitude can come off of the physics sensor. I think. What is it? Here, let's not think. Let's go to the autopilot. And autopilot is going to be desired altitude here. What's that? That's 2. All right, so that's channel 2. Two is altitude. Go get us the flight because ChatGPT's got its head its ass. Being ultra slow. Do I have game volume on at all? It might be doing the bug where it's. I think it's doing. Nope, I got a master down. Alright, there we go. Do you remember how to fly this thing? That's a good sign. It lit up. So, like, the other thing that I want to do that I think ChatGPT is great for is so I did this all by hand. I did all the coding by hand for my autopilot panel. And one thing that it would be helpful for is I've been trying to make it so that when I press the buttons, they light up green in the center. And that's something that I can ask it to do really quickly, and it can do it for me. And then I can go back and look at the code, and it helps. So if you look here, you see the magenta trend vector? It's telling us that's how fast we're slowing down. Now we're stopped at 0, and the magenta trend vector is gone. When I put my nose down, it's going to have the trend vector show me where I'm going to be in 10 seconds. And you see our altitude's climbing. So let's go ahead and start tipping the nose down. And there goes the trend vector. Now, as we hit a certain range, you notice the trend vector is going to go up faster as we start to accelerate a little bit faster. I don't know why it's kind of jittering, the trend vector. It wasn't doing that before. So I gotta see what's up with that. Yeah, I don't know why that's kind of... Oh, you know what it is? It's the wind speed indicator, probably. That's just how it's accelerating, I bet. Let me see what the wind's set to. Nothing? Okay. Because ideally you want it to be airspeed. I could make it ground speed. I don't really want to. I don't know why I'm only doing 40, though. It's interesting. Yeah, I don't know why I'm only doing 40. That's interesting. Put some more collective in here, see if I can't speed it up. I'll put this in a plane, too, and see how it behaves in there. But you can see, main things I want to test here is attitude indicator. I'm going to shut off the... all the AP button... Well, not all the AP button does, but one of the things the AP button does is it goes ahead and it puts on the auto hover. So that's kind of my... If I just want auto hover on, I'll go do that. So we're checking here, making sure that attitude indicator is functioning well. Looks like it is. Oh, you know what it is? Wind speed's in meters per second, and I haven't converted it, so that's what it is. That's why it looks slow to me, is it's in meters per second, and it's set up for knots. And then altitude is also in meters, it's not in feet, so I need to make those conversions. But you see it's working well. There's a reason why, you know, most airliners are glass now, why they moved away from either the smaller gauges or 6-packs of steam gauges. You can see how much information is packed into a small screen. Like here, let's go ahead and I'll bring back up the PFD for you, and you can see just like how much information is packed in this tiny little PFD. Like the PFD, I forget how many inches it is, but it's not huge. You know, let me bring up a picture of the cockpit. You can see that. Oh God, I love when it does that. It makes pictures. All right, so like here's the that's the PFD. All right, so my hand pretty much would cover most of the PFD, and you see how much information's in there. You've got airspeed, you've got your magenta trend vector, you've got low speed Q, high speed Q, you've got maneuvering bar, you've got the Qs will move based on flaps. So like say if when I put this into an airplane, when you put in flaps, like for example, my flap speeds are, I have to be below 230 for the first notch of flaps, below 220, below 185, below 170 to put in my flaps, each set of flaps. And so the red checkerboard moves down as I put those in. There's a ton of information here. So right here, these are my different speed bugs. So I can put different colored bugs on the tape for V1, VR. V1 is reject speed, R is rotation, 2 is safe climb and obstacle, VT is acceleration speed there. And then we've got, this is takeoff. Takeoff's the mode. You have the mode enunciators here for, that tells you, I've got it loaded for, to use the nav function, and altitude is set for altitude cap there. We've got, this tells you who's flying. So in this case, the captain's flying, it's pointing to the left. And then if it's the right, it's the FO. And then it'll be, say, autopilot there. If it's captured, you've got your bank in degrees. This will tell you if you have a yawing motion. So like if you lose an engine, this should always be pretty much in line unless you lose an engine. You lose an engine, you step on the brick. So if the brick goes off to the left, I need to step on the brick. So I need to put down left rudder rather, step on the left side to step on the brick. And that means my right engine has failed. And so that's one of the ways you know which engine failed. But that's one of the ways to quickly tell what engine failed. These are the flight director bars. Ours are a little different, but if this pink is up, that means you want to put the wings of the airplane on the pink bars. If the pink line is to the left, you want to roll to the left until it comes in and it's in line in the center. Here's your glide slope right here. That's also showing, there's a bunch of them. The diamond is for the glide slope. This is for the snowflake, which is for descending in, say, GPS approaches, because you don't have a glide slope. This right here is the, we do it in inches of mercury, not kilopascals, but that's your altimeter setting. This is your radar altimeter. So it's telling you actually how many feet above the ground you are. That shows you where the ground is. That's the caret here. So this right here is your heading, 150, VT speed. This is, you're on FMS mode, ILS 1 course. For the final approach course for the ILS, 1 nautical mile to Lima Sierra Zulu Hotel. And so, let's see, VOR is the bearing pointer, which it's actually not up right now. And ADF would be the other bearing pointer. So like you get so much information. This is a digital readout of your vertical speed. So 1.1 would be 1,100 feet per minute. And there's the scale there. There's also a little blue dot that will go on there. So like this was a huge revolution because so much information. That's your set altitude for your autopilot. You'll also get one here for your next altitude on your arrival. So there's just like so much information crammed in here. And that's one reason why, despite loving steam gauges and kind of really liking Basilicious gauge, I kind of want to, I've been wanting to make my own PFD for a while. So, all right, let's go ahead and make those changes as ChatGPT is being slow as hell. Okay, it's starting to work here. Yeah, ChatGPT is grinding to a halt. So let's keep working on this while it's fucking around. How's it going there, Jay? How are you? All right, so we need to make a couple changes here. All right, so we got the physics sensor. Let me see. I don't need this property line. Let me just get rid of that real quick. That could go. Don't think I need that anymore. Let's just update this and make sure everything looks like it's working, because those are from Basilicious's just when I was working on that. Kind of seeing how his system was working. Let's actually go through it all. That looks fine. Those are just options that I no longer need. So, all right, let's go ahead and do, so like, see how these are not connected to anything? You don't need to. So if you look here, see how this is capital S stall, capital S speed? If we go over to the Lewis script, it should be it's in airspeed tape. And we see capital S stall, capital S speed. It will read from that property number whether I do it or not. Whether it's connected or not. It doesn't need to be connected. So right there it says stall speed of 30. Right, my stall speed in a helicopter is 0. So we're going to go 0. My overspeed in this helicopter, let's say it's 120. So the red tape should come up at 120. If you see that's capital O over speed, capital speed speed, capital O over speed, capital speed speed, and it's going to read from those property from those property boxes, whether I have them connected or not. So that's helpful. All right, I need to make conversions here. Let's go ahead and do. So there's a couple ways I can do this. So right now we're reading off channel 2, and that's going to be the altitude. So I could go into my altitude indicator here, and I can look at where it's getting number 2. I actually have to make sure we're on that's actually number 2. This is starting at channel 1, yeah, so it's reading altitude off channel 2. We go to the altitude tape, and we can do it a couple ways here. I find the number. Alt equals 0, tape, reline. Okay, tape correction text. There's a correction text background. That's the altitude spine, altitude box. Trying to decide if I want to correct it in here or out of here. Let's correct it outside of here. That way I don't have to screw with the code too much. And we'll put a function in here. So let's see. Meters to feet. We're going to divide the meters by 3.281. All right, that's good. And then airspeed. Okay, this is why airspeed was screwed up. No, I hooked that in correctly. Airspeed needs to be corrected as well. Now let's do meters per second and knots is 1.94. What happened here? Oh, okay. All right, that's good there. We'll go give it a romp, make sure everything's working fine. I don't have a ton of time on this. I kind of need to finish this build in the next couple days, so. I think Alistair, especially playing his new game, is going to be reluctant to extend it. So, all right, so you notice how there's no red checkerboard anymore because there's no stall speed anymore. We did lose a bunch of shit, though. I have to fix this. All right. I should have taken a blowtorch this like I did, so. It was something that Basilicious had in there that I no longer want or need in there is the line spacing. You could change the line spacing so that it was less cluttered, and that's a. I might keep it in there. I don't think so though. Yeah, that broke a bunch of stuff. So, still having problems with that magenta speed cue being kind of iffy. But you know, as we were doing 40 before, that was because of meters per second. Altitude is definitely not right. Something's up with that. I gotta fix it. Unless that's 1,000. Like, that looks like 1,000 feet to me. I don't know what the deal is there, though. I gotta look at this. Yeah, so I broke some stuff. I want static line spacing, so I can go back and fix that later when I finally get ChatGPT to actually answer me. I'm just killing time here until I can get this going. So let's go ahead and bring that back. See if it will let me type in a little bit more. Okay, here we go. Fuck, it's so slow right now, ChatGPT. See if I can fix this thing here with the, I don't want the line spacing box in there. Let's see if I can load it up and fix that. Need be, we'll switch and we'll just keep working on the build itself. And then tonight, when hopefully not everybody and their brother's using this, I can get back on and do some coding with it. All right. So let's look at this. So this was something that Basilicious had, was property toggle, sensor type, physics sensor, tilt sensors, on value, all that shit. We got to find that in here and see if I can get rid of it. Or just leave it. That's altitude type. I'm supposed to be an attitude indicator. Okay, here's line spacing, sensor type. All right, so it's going to get bool sensor type. So I can get rid of this if I want to. If sensor, then da 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 da. So line spacing, da da, or 1. So let's see what it's set to. Line spacing right here, min value max, rounding 1 value. All right, so the value is 1. So I got line spacing 1. So if I delete that, that should give me 1. And it's gone, so that didn't work. Let me go in and try to, I'm trying to get rid of that part of it. So it's not a feature that I want or need. So line spacing right here. So property spacing get number. Equals 1. Give me the fucking cursor. What is going on there? Why doesn't it like that? All right, why am I going into this at the moment? I don't know. All right, let me keep typing. We'll chat. TPTs, let me do it. All right, chat. I'm giving up on ChatGPT right now. It's just so fucking slow that I'll be here the rest of my life trying to screw with this. So I just need to make some forward progress on this. Property name, sensor type, physics sensor, off label, on labels, physics sensor, tilt sensors, value on. All right, so that I can get rid of some of the stuff. For now, I need those. All that's doing is it was a way he put in there so that if you wanted to use the physics sensor, you could use that, or you could use the tilt sensors. And so I'm just going to leave it for now. It's stupid for me just to screw with it. It's just killing time that I need not to do. All right, so let's just go ahead and we'll make the corrections I need to here for airspeed and altitude. And so one thing we can do here is let's go ahead and that's altitude. What is the altitude? Three two eight. Trying to think I want to go to linear speed to fix this jittering problem. Ideally, I want airspeed in there. So I'll keep it for now, but we'll put a convert to knots for the moment. Stall speed is going to be 0 for this particular vehicle. Over speed is going to be 120. Okay. And then I can easily just move the module in and out. So I want to make some progress in the helicopter, seeing that ChatGPT just crawling to a halt. And I knew as soon as I put that as the label for what the video was going to work on, it was going to shit the bed, and then I wasn't going to be able to do it. But usually I work at night when people aren't around or the weekends, so it's like people aren't using it for work. If I make any code edits, it's going to be... It's not going to be on the helicopter. That way, all I have to do is move the microcontroller back in. Okay, that's hooked up. And then we need the turn on for that. All right. Is that going to there? All right, good. So that's pretty much hooked up. Keep working on this again. I got to get this finished here in the next couple days, so I don't want to fart around too much. I need to fix any problems we're having, so. Also not gonna play too much today. Tomorrow and the next day, hopefully get some friggin' time. And I gotta get this build done. Oh shit, don't crash. I'm trying to do some shit here, guy. Yeah, see, I don't know why the, see how the magenta is flickering? So I gotta put in something to fix that for the speed type Q. But you see how the airspeed's kind of flickering? I'd rather not do a linear speed, but we'll see if it's more stable. All right, so see how we're starting to get the checkerboard coming up at 120, so that's our high-speed queue there. I gotta see what's up with the altitude. Something's up with the altitude. Let's go ahead and we will do... So like this one thing that the AI is good for is like, so see how this, what these numbers are, they're aligning to the left side. I want them to either align to the right or the middle. I can tell it that I want to do that, and it will just do it for me, and I don't have to try to like go read a bunch of documentation, try to figure out how to do it. It will just do it for me. Okay, so let's see what the hell's going on here. I wish I had an altitude readout. Maybe it is just a, no, maybe it's missing a digit. I don't know. I gotta look at it. All right, let's put a waypoint out here to go to. I'm gonna drink. I'll be right back. Well, I would like the movement to be a little less jerky for the autopilot. I don't really care. It's not a huge deal. It's also I don't have the time to be screwing around with pit tuning for 1,000 years, and it's part of the reason why it's a little bit jerky, herky-jerky is the it has to be able to do it in 100% wind. So it really needs to be able to go to really extreme movements in order to be able to account for the heavy winds. It looks like it's missing a digit, so I gotta look at that. I've got it set to 3,000. 2,300 wouldn't surprise me if that's the altitude we're at, so I gotta look at it. I'm gonna hand fly for a little bit here so that so I'm curious if it's missing a digit here, so I'm gonna turn the autopilot on. If it goes down, which it is, that means that, yeah, so it's missing a digit, so it, maybe not. Yeah, I gotta see what's up with this altitude. Airspeed looks fine, because it was going about 80 knots before. Yeah, I gotta look at it, because it wasn't flickering before, so I will, I'll look into that, thanks. Thanks, Rasmus. Yeah, we can go do that in a second, Rasmus, when I put this in. Alright, so it looks like, yeah, it's missing a digit. So I don't know why the hell it's missing a digit. Interesting. Why the hell is it missing a digit there? Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know why the math would be funky. Alright, let's go do that fix Rasmus was suggesting. There already is something in here, Rasmus, that it had put in there. It's trend equals speed, last speed minus last speed equals speed to try to get rid of that. So, that's what the code's doing. Let's find, that's on the tick there. Let's find the trend vector. So trend vector speed plus trend times 60, trend pixels, trend minus speed, pixels per knot. Yeah. See, that's why it already had put in a smoothing element in there. It's the way it reads the raw data, I wonder. I don't know why in the hell altitude's off by 10. Get number 2. All right, that puts the correction right in there. All right, that fixes the, should fix the altitude correction there. Let's do this real quick. Don't have a ton of time to work on this. This is kind of stressing me out that I got to do all this extra shit here. I'm running out of time for this build, frankly, is what's happening. Is it times? It's got to be times. Multiply. It's a multiply. Never mind. That's probably part of the problem there. Fantastic, this update with the being able to stack shit, I'm telling you that. I really like these doors. These turned out nicely in the back. The fuck happened to this seat? Oh, it's hitting it. Okay. It's like, why is the seat not working now? I'm like, I don't need more shit to not work. I need more shit to work. Because I got 2 days to finish this build, essentially. I gotta go do shit today. Don't need extra shit to do, I'll tell you that. 27 feet. Up, shit. Yeah, without these having lights, I can't tell if they're on or not. Alright, there we go. So that's not reading out anything now. Alright, now that's on. Alright, so it's within a couple feet, which is fine. Alright, so I gotta go see why this is ballsed up at the moment. Something simple. I think it's the readout from the actual game, because like when I do it counting, it's stable. But I gotta see what I could do here. Alright, it was not reading at all. Let's not fuck around too bad here. What's that? That's altitude, and then, did I not change that? Altitude's goner, that's fine. Yeah, physics sensor 2 should be altitude, that's fine, okay. So, get number 2. Okay, let's not do it here. Get number 2 there, and then I gotta figure out what the readout is. Let's just pre-do it. Because that's going to define it as altitude. That should work, Rasmus, right? Just doing it, multiplying it there, but I don't know why it's not doing it. Let's make sure it's not a broken problem elsewhere. One thing I'm going to do it again here. This takes forever to get in the cockpit if I don't do this. So for now, I'm going to kill that window and then go through the window. Takes me half the time to get in this sucker. All right, there we go. All right, showing 8 now, so that's reading fine. Let's try to do the math in the Lua block. Just do it outside like that. That should work. Okay, there we go. 27, 27. That works now. All right, so that's fixed. Okay, so let's do that. And then I'll multiply out airspeed inside the block there, so. Get number 1 times 1.94 for knots. That should work now. All right, good. So those are now fixed. Let's just do something cheeky. Rasmus, you remember off the top of your head what which speed is for on the physics sensor? It is, because they changed them and it's annoying to try to remember. It should be linear velocity. I think it was Z, wasn't it 9? I think 9. Let's play with 9. I think it's 9. Let's try linear speed for a second. See if linear speed behaves better. Airspeed's ideally better for an airplane. The helicopter doesn't really matter all that much. Because I could add in wind speed, and we'll see if it behaves itself, but I don't know. Let's see if that gets rid of the flutter. If it doesn't, I would rather use the wind indicator because that actually gives us airspeed. Especially that comes into play with wind. Because so like say we have a 40 knot wind blowing at us. In a hover, it would show we're going 40, but that also tells us how strong the wind is, which is beneficial information. Shit, okay. I already had the AP master on. Alright, it's... Yeah, see, it's still doing it now, Erasmus. That's funky. What I could do is probably put a floor on it so that it's... Like, right now, we're barely moving. So I'll play with that later. But, 240, I've got it set on. We're within 2 feet. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, it's 9. If it's 2 feet on the altitude that we're off, then I could put in a 2-foot correction. But I don't really care. Like, see, this is when people are like, oh my god, I gotta put in a correction. It's holding at 2 feet off of the altitude. Dude, how much do you think my altitude varies in an airliner flying, you know, with that? It's like, I've got plus or minus 50 feet to be within regulations, you know. Doesn't need to be that accurate either, but like it's looking like it's settling right at 2, so that could be a quick altitude correction I could do to fix that. Like you just do -2. Yeah, it's not hard. That's looking pretty good. Trend vector I'm not thrilled with. So one thing we could do, theoretically, Rasmus, is I could try to smooth the number out before, so like have the number come in, smooth it, and then send it through. Yeah, I could try something like that. See how it's jumpy over there? It's kind of annoying. I want to smooth it out. But again, I'm not gonna get. I can't get bogged down in a lot of this shit because it's just gonna take forever. And I gotta work on the whole bottom of the PFD. As long as I get the compass done and the vertical speed, that's all I need to really have this in the challenge as far as I'm concerned. So let's take a look at this. We're gonna keep working on the helicopter. The bearing panel is not where I'd like it to be, but I don't have the time to completely rewrite it at the moment, so we're not gonna do that. No way in hell. Wish ChatGPT would be working here. Let's see if I can bring up a new prompt. I want to start a new prompt here. And I want to see if I can, because I just have a couple things on my autopilot panel that will kind of put that to bed. I want to make it so that the numbers align right. So see how they're aligning left? I want them to align right. And then I want to have it so that the autopilot nav, heading, and altitude, when I select them, I want the letters to turn green. And this is where I think it really excels, is by going in and actually having it like, hey, look at my code. I want to do this thing. And it could kind of walk you through that. So with it being jumpy with 9, I definitely want it to be going to the airspeed. Because that's indicated airspeed comes off of what the actual aircraft's feeling. So like if we were sitting in 30 knot wind, the airspeed indicator would read 30 knots even though we're stationary. And we want that. We want to know what the wind speed is. All right, let me see. ChatGPT is just completely frozen right now is the problem. Okay, good. It's kind of making a little progress now. God damn, it's slow. Like it's literally, it just keeps freezing. ChatGPT. All right, it's bogged down. I'm not gonna fuck with that anymore. All right, so that's fine for now. We'll screw with that later. Let's look at what we need to do. I gotta hide a ton of stuff. I got a lot going on for me here. So let's start trying to get moving here. So this is fine. I don't need that anymore. That can go. Let's what is this? Overhead fuel panel. Okay. I gotta get this ready for the challenge. So I'm trying to get panels to hide. I got lots of space in the tail. There's plenty of space to hide shit, but I'm just trying to kind of be careful with it. Where most of these panels are going is in the fuel tank because that really makes you a lot of space. What is that? Winch controls, all right. I know Alistair hates the being able to read the labels of the panels, but I also like to know what the hell I'm working on when I'm working on it, so he's gonna lose out on that one. Let's see. Make sure I'm not deleting anything. I am deleting some I need there. That can go there, though. These make a lot more space for fuel. Not that I need any more fuel. This thing is ultra fuel efficient, and it also holds a ton, especially with these drop tanks. That just gives you a ton of fuel, so. But this gives me more, and I can always partially fill the tanks if I wanted to, and it adds a lot of space to it. All right, that's where the connections are, so I can't screw with that. That's the door. I actually don't have too much space in the fuel tanks, actually. A lot less than I thought. So tail's going to be where a lot of this goes. I can do floor here, but yeah, I can do floor there, but I got to delete out the names so you're not looking at the names. I don't really need all that extra fuel in there, so we can start banging them in the tails. I'm more worried about the weight distribution, starting to push weight to the ass. But a lot of this is going to move up, so. It's good finally working on my own suite of avionics. I like Basilisc's stuff, but I really wanted to make my own stuff, so that's rewarding to start working on that, getting that going. Anything that we don't need back here? No, I think, what's this? Wind direction, physics sensor, okay. It's actually going to help with weight, moving it forward a little bit. The bearing panel should be able to get shrunken down. I've been trying to think of what I want to do with the bearing panel. It's going to get digitized, especially now that I'm starting to work on Lua and getting reasonably good at making what I want. I don't think this is actually hooked up to anything. No, that was for me to get some code. Interior lighting. Transponder locator. Three by two. Have a 3x2 anywhere. Get the music going again. I had it off so I could try to talk to ChatGPT, which was not gonna work. Have another one of those somewhere. That's a 3x2 right behind it. All right. I gotta be careful of the weight shift on this. What a lot of people don't consider is that they gotta worry about weight shifts. You know, you start moving your weight around, you get it ballasted. As you move weight around, just like a real ship or a real aircraft, you gotta reballast. And that's, you know, so if you can think of that ahead of time, especially ships, like when you're putting things in there, like as you move them different places, they need to be reballasted again. You know, that's why it's important when you're building a ship or an aircraft to have that ballast that can be moved later, so as you add weight to different places, you can then shift it with the ballast. So things like fuel, and the ship, you know, just raw mass, ballast water. You know, these are all things that need to be moved, or can be moved to counteract as you move weight around. And so if you plan that ahead, then as you move the stuff, it's not a big deal. Like I've got a ton of weight already in the nose of this. And so as I move stuff further forward, it's helpful. As I move it toward the back, it's, you know, detrimental to what I'm trying to do. So I got to be careful with that. And then one thing I did there is by increasing the fuel a little bit, the fuel is going to help keep that weight forward. So, okay. These being compact is kind of a nightmare with, if I need to work on them, but it's not terrible. I can manage. Well, like sometimes bigger builds are actually a little bit easier because you have the space to put stuff in. When you start getting tiny little builds, they become really obnoxious with, you know, trying to fit your microcontrollers places. That's why I like, you know, when you build a tiny little car, it's the microcontrollers. That's why it was so important when the devs came out with the update there where they, you know, you could stack stuff. Is the ability to stack it really helps with you being able to get smaller microcontrollers so you can build smaller. So I think it was like one of my favorite updates. Was it just like so many of my builds that were a pain in the ass because like I couldn't have it look the way I wanted because I had to be able to put the microcontrollers in, so I had to balloon out some of the size. That doesn't happen anymore as much. All right, what are those? Those are the doors. Okay. Yeah, that's why I think it's kind of silly when people are like, oh, the devs haven't put out any good updates. Like, these have been some of the best updates because, like, yeah, it's not a shiny new part you can use sometimes, but it's something that, like, is huge in changing the way you play the game. Like, the ability to stack nodes really is, like, one of the more unparalleled things. It's just, like, it's an absolute game changer, literally, with the ability to put things where you need to put them and not have to worry about making compromises, you know? You know, like, there was one day we on the workshop, we worked on building a little car, a little four-wheeler. And I could have made the four-wheeler faster and more powerful and everything else if I put more cylinders, but I finally was able to make a one-cylinder build because, you know, of those changes with the microcontrollers. I just couldn't get the microcontroller small enough to put it where I wanted to put it. And now we can do that, and that's really enormous. All right, that cleans that up pretty nicely. This has got to go in somewhere. You know, there's so many parts I would like, and you know, it'd be great to do that. But some of the quality of life things are just like I said, they're less shiny, and you take them for granted a lot quicker. But they really have so much of a bigger impact on the actual game. All right, let's make sure this sits correctly. I don't think we shifted that much weight toward the aft. Plus, it was counterbalanced with that extra fuel we get in the fuel tank, so that's good. All right, that got rid of a lot of microcontrollers pretty quickly. Cleans this up a lot, makes it look less unfinished. I'd save it up. Yeah, let's do that. We can do that, Rasmus. Here, let's do that before I save it. Try a function block with a, let's try this then. See if that works. Take Rasmus' suggestion here. We try that one of our tests. That look good? Let's see. X times 1 plus Y times 0.9. Yeah, it's taking the fraction of it. Is it 0.1? Yeah, 0.1. Yeah, so it's essentially adding the 0.1 back. Yeah, so it's doing essentially adding the 0.1 back to 0.9 to make the whole number again. That makes sense. All right, that's good. Why is that not property text? What? I need one with 3 inputs? Why do I need one with 3 inputs? Oh, Y for the Y. Yeah, okay, let me look at it again. I didn't see it was a Y. I wrote the Y, but I didn't think of the Y. All right, let's try that, and then, all right, let's save this, and I want to paint. All right. So I'm trying to come up with kind of a rescue scheme color that I like. I've got a bunch of builds. Let's save. Let's go ahead and look at some builds here. See if there's anything I like. Chickadee. So this is kind of the chickadee paint. Yeah. Kind of like Night Owl scheme, but it's also unique. I kind of want to keep Night Owl scheme for Night Owl. So one thought I had was, here, let's do this. kind of know what I want, but I'm trying to like find something to. Let's start painting, see what I think. All right. This is where I start not liking the bucket because it's going to put behind there, and I don't want to do that. See, like how it does through the wings? I got to kind of mask it off. Might do that orange around the nose. I don't know, like up here. I might step it up, but we'll work with it first, get the color scheme going, and then I'll kind of play with it. Like some other quality of life things I would like the devs to do that I think they could do and be reasonably easy is, for example, we have the pivots and the bottom block of the pivot, it colors it on all sides, so you can't do individual. That'd be a big help. I would like that. It's not going to likely be this blue. I'm going to tweak it, but it's once I get the colors in, I can swap them out. It's like, see these blocks? They color it on all sides, so you got to make sure you hide that, and that's obnoxious. Let's give that a look. Yeah, see, like, I've got this, so I was very conscious when I was making my doors where the pivots are. See how there's a block behind it, so you can't see that, so that's the level of bullshittery I gotta go through to try to hide that, which I wish you didn't have to do. So one thought is black lining it up here. Double line looks kind of weird. I could drop the orange a line, but I kind of just want to get the scheme going, and then we can play with it from there. This is where if I didn't have symmetry on it, I'd cry. If the gold wheels are a little bit too gaudy or not. I think they look alright right now. Yeah, that fixes that. Then what I want to do is I want to find this gray color. 94, 5, and 99. So 5 is what they've gone down. So what we'll do is grab this and we'll go down 5. So the door gets a little bit of a darker color, kind of like in the old cartoons, how like, because they used to do overlay sheets, and that's how you know this will close. And so it makes it easier to find the doors because they're a slightly different color. That's how I like find some of my, you know, where my buttons are, especially if I'm hiding them, that helps. Like, this is the obnoxious thing with these two, is like where the colors go on these, but can't be perfect, so. crying about what, you know, everybody else has to put up with the game and just not perfect is like, I think it's silly. It's like, just, you know, deal with it, frankly. It's like, you know, you can't make it perfect all the time, so don't worry about it, you know. Nobody else can make it perfect too, so you're like, oh, it's gonna be terrible if I can't get this to be exactly how I want it. Well, nobody else can either, so it's like, chill out. You know, it's a level playing field in that regard, so it's like, don't worry about it. Don't do that, come on. Yeah, that's the benefit of all, you know, playing with the same toolbox is, yeah, you have all the same limitations as everybody else does, so. Like when people get butthurt about like, oh, I can't use XML windows in the challenge. Nobody else can either. You know, or you can in this challenge. I'm just saying in general. Like when I used to, you know, have a lot that you can't have XML windows. Like nobody else can either. You know, so they're not gonna make something that's revolutionarily different than yours because they can't do the colors. I want a good contrast color for the engines, so I'm trying to think. This is too dark. Benefit is they'll be colored whatever they're going to be colored, and then I can do a color swap on them. So if I want the engines to be whatever color, they'll just get color swapped out. So. See if I want to put in, there it is. Stop painting shit I don't want to paint. Come on. Stop it. My God. Oh my God, what is it painting right now that's fucking annoying me? That's fine, that is what actually needed to be painted. This is annoying, trying to paint that. Alright. I think what I'm going to do is, I should have been doing this from the beginning, is change one digit. That way I can easily color swap them and other shit doesn't get ruined, but I forgot to do it. So. What do I want for wing color? I don't want it to be body color. I'll keep it as this silver. Starting to look pretty good. Blue, I want to change some. Why is this? Okay, that's got to be blue on there. All right. At least I can color swap that blue out. I want more of a steel blue and not a baby blue. Okay, that's good. See what I get for blues here. Yeah, it's better like that. Not too bad. I kind of like the color schemes coming along all right. Door pivot needs to be fixed. And then across there. Across the door. Door pivot and across the door. See, that's the problem, is that gets colored everywhere. I don't like that. Of course I don't have symmetry on. Why would I? That would make life easy and pain-free. One must suffer for their art, apparently. Alright, there we go. That's looking pretty good, I think. Read some chat. Wasn't this one? hate the bucket, but it's not bucketed yet. That's the reason I hate the bucket. It starts coloring stuff I don't want to, so instead of doing that and kind of being rash here, I'll just go ahead and start painting, and then once I make a border, I can use the bucket to kind of speed it along. But it's I'm not a huge fan of this bucket. Causes problems, and I gotta go fix the problems. So it's like I spend more time fixing the problems than just hand painting the sucker. The colors I want it. So. Watching some Alistair's Anymaker videos, but I haven't had really too much time to do it because of work. But it's looking very interesting. Yeah, it's like, you know, they told people how many times that it's not going to be a replacement or a sequel to this, and then people are like, oh, it's different. And so, yeah, that's supposed to be different there, guy. It's a different game. And I like that because it's also like, I can see playing both of them for different reasons. And then like, oh, I kind of want to break from Stormworks, go play that for a little bit, you know, and still get to do the building itch, you know. Let's try. I don't want to. This is a pain in the ass to do here. To paint these. Alright, I'll finish that later. I'm just trying to get this kind of going here. Either gonna do that with the ceiling or. Yeah, I think it's more wall color there. Alright. Yeah, see that's annoying right there. It's showing that orange color. So we'll have to fix that at some point, but I won't dick with that too much at the moment. Hoping I can get this thing finished in time for the challenge. We'll see. It's gonna be fine. I can get it to where it's workable and it's in. No, it's like not the end of the world. Like it's pretty much. I could set it up now and it wouldn't be quote unquote finished to where I want it, but it would be where I'm happy with that it is quality. You know, that's the main thing. I'm not gonna release some half done piece of shit. That's not gonna happen, but you know, I think it's gonna be quality. It's got the features. It's feature dense, which is important. I just did this color. I'm going to have to change it again. It's right there, right? No. Yeah, it's right here. On that one. Yeah, it's right there. Alright, let's see. What the fuck am I grabbing here? Okay, that's good. And I think I might do a... Let's see how that feels inside. Yeah, that's good. That feels good. It's got some good depth of color because the shadow areas are darker. That's going to change, so I can do a quick sum on that. Don't really like it at the moment, but we'll see what it looks like later. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that, but oh well. Again, you know, you pressed right up against it, so it bothers you at the time, and then you don't give a shit later. So that's usually what happens. So At the time, it's like you've had something that looked better, and then now it doesn't look as good, so it bothers you, and then later you're like, I don't care. You know, so. Probably change the door color, but for now I'm just kind of not messing with it. Did I get the color? How many times do I get to click on this before I get this color? There we go. Jesus Christ. That's the problem because I can't color this spot here. That's why that was that color, so it's going to stay that color. Don't know what color I want to make that yet. Probably be a light gray throughout here, maybe. The consoles and stuff. That's what my airplane is. And then ours like a dark beige almost. Not like that at all. Nah. I'll put something that I can change that to, so we'll do blue for now, and then that could change up later. See how that looks inside. That didn't get changed yet. That door. I'm liking that. It's got good depth in there. Like, you can see the facets are darker and got good shadow on it. Try green for the seats. Kind of has pigeon colors. You kind of see. Could go with the blue with a pigeon's frill there, but it's kind of got pigeon colors, but a little bit lighter. I like it. Coming along. Yeah, this feels good for colors. Then we'll do my do this for all the winches. Yeah, I think colors came up pretty good. I gotta paint the drop tanks, but that definitely looks good. All right. Let's go for a quick flight. Let's see if Rasmus's recommendation there, if that works for smoothing. I got some other tricks we can try. But again, it's not the end of the world. Like, you know, try to perfect everything all day, you're never gonna get anything done. Some electrical connection broke. Make sure everything's merged, first of all. Yeah, we're gonna have some merge problems here if I'm not careful. So it was the starter on that because it wasn't merged. That's what it was. But I like the new color scheme. The new color scheme is pretty good. Still a little jittery. We'll see how it looks here in a second. Yeah, see, it's a little bit better. One thing I could probably do is increase where it'll be in a longer period of time to help with that too. I could pigeon itself on there too. Oh, thank you, Rasmus. But yeah, I'm happy with this PFD. I've been wanting to work on this for a while. Lua is one of my... It was intimidating, let's put it that way. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Lua was intimidating. And so by kind of... I think that's where AI is really helpful with this is... Like, if you don't know coding, you're not going to know where to start. And so you have to go and you have to learn. It's like, you know, it's called a programming language for a reason, right? You got to learn a language. That's intimidating because you don't know any of the words. You don't know any of the, you know, how you use the words to get across what you need to get across. And so it's very intimidating. And essentially, it's like a translator for you. So you're saying, hey, I know this language, and I would like you to do your best to convert it into a language I understand. And so I can speak English to ChatGPT and have it convert it into code. And I don't speak code yet, or speak code well yet. And so I can say, hey, this is what I would like to do. You make that work for me in this language. And I think that's where its great utility is for that. Because I can, you know, with somebody who doesn't know code very well, I can just speak English to it, have it do it, and then I can look at it and it says, you know, like it was like, how do you say my name is in Spanish? Me llamo, you know, Captain, right? And say, you know, and so you could say in English, somebody could tell you, well, now you just saw how you do it, and then the next time you remember it, right? It's like how you learn any language. And so I think it's a good way to utilize it as a way to kind of translate from what you're trying to accomplish into that. And like I speak Pilot, you know, better than probably most doing the game stuff. And so like I can tell it what I want with the PFD because I know what the PFD should do IRL. And so I can then have it translate into putting that in the game, you know. But I'm content with this. This is coming along nicely. You know, so underneath, it's going to get a compass underneath in the middle. It's going to get a VSI on its side there, and then it's going to get some... I got quite a bit of thoughts on this panel here. This panel here might be quite interesting. I might make it where it is a multifunction panel. Ideally, what I'd like to do is get rid of the bearing panel, or redo the bearing panel, and make it all part of a... multifunction panel. And what I might do is make that bottom left side the MFD. And so that would be multiple pages. That would be really helpful. So now let's save this up, and then I think we're going to finish up. But yeah, like I could release this for the challenge now and feel confident that it fits. Nope. Before I do this, I got backup and I got that. Yes, all right. You know, so I'm confident that like I could release this now and probably be fine. But yeah, I'd have to take out the Basilicious three gauges underneath just because that they're not mine. But you know, I'm gonna work on it tonight. Or not tonight, probably tomorrow. Hopefully get some time when ChatGPT is actually working so that I can... there's a paid version I can use to do that and then be able to go ahead and try to get that to work. See, I got a message here. What's this message? Yeah. Damn, I was replying to a message. Yeah, so that, you know, and so should be able to knock out the compass. If I knock out the compass and vertical speed, I'm content with this being in for the challenge, and it's got enough functionality. I think it has some cool features, makes it different than some of the other ones. It's got good functionality where it's got, you know, a nav hold. You know, we've seen before it sits rock solid in heavy weather. It's got insane fuel efficiency and range. Like, I did a range test, and it has more fuel than it had now. It went down from here to here, up to here, and back to here. And it had, like, it used maybe, like, maybe 2/3 of its fuel. So it's got, plenty of fuel, and it's really fuel efficient. It's really cheap to operate, which is important for me because I want to get it in the career game. And so, like, if we look at the price, it's I think the max price that Alistair set was 140,000. This is 34. So, like, this is early game. You could get into this really early and use this early. So I think that's great. All right, let's go ahead. I think we're gonna finish up here. So thanks guys for watching. Thanks for the help, Rasmus. Thanks for everybody who stopped by. If you liked the video, give it a like. That helps me out. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one.